Hi there, it's Tim Clark reporting from Los Angeles for CVG. I'm with Mike Gapper from Xbox World. Hi Mike.
Hello.
So what did you make of the show, Mike? Was it much as expected? What stood out for you?
Well, you know, it was exactly the show we predicted all along. We said all along it was going to have those games, but not necessarily in that order. It was the order was inexplicable. They gave Halo, put Halo up front, and closed on a game I can get on any system, and even play better on PC. It made no sense. It was a very strangely ordered show.
I thought Halo was the most exciting single piece of software they showed. Were you pleased with what 343 did? My kind of impression was that I didn't want them to do just a retread of the stuff Bungie had done in the past. It felt like they've taken it into some interesting new directions.
Well, Halo was undoubtedly the highlight of the show. And I think a lot of Halo fans are going to be a little concerned by what they saw, because what we saw was quite a heavily scripted sequence, and Halo's more about the freedom of the sandbox. But you have to sort of frame what we saw today in the context of what we've heard from Frank O'Connor and the other guys from 343. They've always said they love the sandbox elements of Halo. They're secret fans of ODST. They really like when you get a lot of space to move, a lot of space to run around. The thing we got shown today was much like the other demos we were shown today. Very tightly scripted sequences that they can control in an on-stage environment. Of course, no one was actually controlling it. They were just pressing buttons when they were pretending to fire.
Well, one of the impressions I got from it was that we know we're coming to the end of this console life cycle, and you saw a lot of very boysy action games that looked incredibly slick. Like you said, Control's a good word. They had Splinter Cell, Blacklist, the Resi demo and the Tomb Raider demo. They were all incredibly sick, diverse. You could almost look at each game and see the different strands of DNA they were drawing on. There's a bit of Uncharted here. Yeah. There's QTEs here.
Developers have got really good at this generation of consoles. They've got everything they can get out of them. And they've got to the point now where the creative ideas they come up with over the course of the generation have all begun to merge into one. In particular, Tomb Raider was combining a dozen different genres all at once. There's a bit of stealth there. It's kind of open world. There was a quick time event. There was stealth takedowns. There was platforming. They just kept on throwing all of these different things into one game because they're so good at doing each of those bits individually. Why not do them all at once?
And I guess in terms of technology stuff, I mean, we can probably skip over the Xbox Music thing because that left me absolutely cold. I couldn't really see a reason for that to exist.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's a smart play by Microsoft. If they're playing for the same market as Apple TV, they have to get stuck into that. They have to have a service that competes with Spotify. It competes even with iTunes. If it's a subscription service, as we suspect, and it basically gives you Spotify functionality on Xbox and your Windows Phone and your PC, and it uploads all your playlists to Facebook, I think that's quite that's a killer thing,
So the most interesting tech reveal for me, though, was probably the smart glass stuff, and they were saying it would ultimately work on, they kept saying a tablet. I mean, I presume they meant iPad, unless we assume Windows tablets are suddenly going to inherit the Earth, but I can't imagine that will happen. But that seemed to me a direct response to what Nintendo obviously doing with Wii U. Sony are kind of talking about a bit with using the Vita as a second screen. Yeah. Were you impressed by that, what they showed?
I wouldn't say very impressed because we've yet to see the things that it can do, but the potential is incredible. And this is kind of what we had with Nintendo's conference last year. They showed this machine and we had to think about the potential of it. We have to take that step ourselves. We have to think about the things that can be done and hope that developers do it. We hope developers would have embraced Vita by now to use it as a way of streaming games, straight from your PSP, PS3 to Vita, so you can play your games all around the house. In theory, what Microsoft have done is turned every Xbox that everyone who owns an Xbox and a tablet or a phone now owns a machine that has the same capabilities as the Wii U. The only thing that's going to differentiate them is the kind of software that Nintendo bring to the table. Microsoft have that functionality now. Sony have that functionality now. What makes it especially powerful for Microsoft is that they're putting it onto every device you own. iPhone, Windows Phone, iPad. If you've got a Samsung tablet, it's probably going to support it. And that's incredibly powerful. You don't have to spend £250 on a Vita, plus the cost of the memory card and the games you get with it. You've probably got a device that will interface with your 360 now.
I mean, going back to the software, what did you make of the South Park reveal? I thought Trey Parker and Matt Stone were the most comfortable speakers by far, the only guys not using autocue. They were funny. It was one of the best guest stars, I think.
It was funny. They were the only guys who came out on stage and behaved and acted like humans. Everyone else looked like a robot up there. They came out, they made a funny joke. The Twitter says that they were actually pulled off stage early, and they were certainly looking off stage to someone who was in the pit there. I don't know about that, but they certainly demoed their game well. The game looked great. Everyone liked South Park, and it looked funny, it looked clever, it looked the part, it looked like South Park. And then Matt and Trey came out, and they really sold the audience on it. They're likable guys.
Going back to what you said about the running order, were you surprised they chose to close on Black Ops, a game that's I mean, I guess it's like it's the kind of no-brainer thing to do, but
I think closing on Black Ops is inexplicable. It doesn't say, you know, this is why you own an Xbox. It says this is why you own a game system. If you own any game system, probably even Wii U, maybe even Vita, you're going to be able to play a version of Black Ops this winter. You close on your biggest hitter, the biggest hitter that only you have, and that was Halo. They opened on it, and it was... the idea of opening on it is maybe you close with something even bigger. In sales terms, Black Ops is even bigger, but in Xbox brand terms, Halo's the biggest thing they got, and it was a mistake playing their cards too early. Microsoft had all the cards going into this show, they just had no idea how to play them.
So there's always a lot of talk every E3 about which of the format holders has won. We haven't seen the other two yet, but if you had to score that conference out of 10, what would you give it?
4.
as ever, with a harsh score.
But not for the call of the games. It was for the way they were demoed. If you've got a game as big as Gears of War, as big as Forza Horizon, as big as Halo, you don't wheel them out first, you don't show them for a couple of minutes, and then give Mr. Nike 8 minutes. It was inexplicable.
I'm going to go with a more generous 7 out of 10, and we'll, of course, be bringing you the other conferences as the week goes on. Cheers.